From the World Wrestling Federation, it's Tuesday Night Titans with your host, Vince McMahon.
All right, what's up, everybody? Dana White here, and it's great to be on TNT Tuesday Night Titans. Look, I don't normally get the chance to be in a place like this, but when they asked me to come and talk a little bit about the fight game, I couldn't say no. All right, let me take you back a bit. I was born in Manchester, Connecticut in 1969. Growing up, I wasn't exactly the most athletic kid, but I had a ton of energy. My family didn't have a lot of money, but we had a lot of love and a lot of grit. When I was young, my dream wasn't really to be a fighter or even to run a sports empire. I just wanted to make something of myself. After high school, I went to college for a short time, but I was never really the academic type. I dropped out, and I spent some time figuring out what I wanted to do. At one point, I got into boxing, and that's where I started to fall in love with the fight game. But it wasn't like I was a world-class fighter myself. I was just a guy who loved the sport, the strategy, and the culture of it. So I ended up working at a gym, and that's where my career began. I became a personal trainer and slowly built a network. Around that time, I started managing some fighters, getting to know the ins and outs of the business. I wasn't rich or anything, but I was building my way up. Now, here's where things really took off. In the late 90s, I met a guy named Lorenzo Fertitta. He and his brother Frank were these billionaire businessmen who had a deep interest in the fight game, and we connected over that. In 2001, I had a conversation with them that would change my life forever. The UFC was on the verge of bankruptcy. It was struggling, the brand was weak, and there were barely any fans. The Fertitta brothers decided to buy it for $2 million. I remember they asked me to come in as the president to help turn it around. At the time, I was skeptical, but I had no idea how big it could get. I just knew I couldn't let this thing slip through my fingers. I took the job in 2001, and from that moment, I was all in. The first couple of years, they were tough. The UFC was still considered this niche underground sport. People didn't understand it. They saw it as brutal, violent, and for the most part, people didn't think it was real sports entertainment. But I was determined to change that perception. I knew we had something special, something that could grow into a global phenomenon. The turning point, the Ultimate Fighter reality show in 2005. It was a game changer. The show gave fans a behind-the-scenes look at the fighters, their personalities, and the drama of the sport. People saw the realness of it, the intensity, the raw emotion, and the skill. The first season was a massive hit, and from there, the UFC started to explode. Our fan base grew exponentially, and we started to get serious attention from media outlets and big-name sponsors. By 2006, the UFC was making real moves. We landed a deal with Spike TV, and soon after, we were in talks with cable networks, which helped elevate the sport to a whole new level. We weren't just a niche anymore. We were a major player in the world of sports. This was when I started thinking about the bigger picture. We needed to expand globally. Over the next decade, we signed major broadcast deals with Fox, ESPN, and more. We went from holding small regional shows to filling up massive arenas all over the world. The UFC was now a global brand. And let's talk about pay-per-view for a minute. I was at the forefront of turning the UFC into a pay-per-view powerhouse. We started putting on huge must-see events, from UFC 100 to McGregor versus Khabib to all the crazy matchups in between. When we signed Conor McGregor, that was a game changer. The guy's personality, his fighting style, the way he marketed himself, it was exactly what the UFC needed. He didn't just fill arenas, he sold millions of pay-per-views.
From the World Wrestling Federation, it's Tuesday Night Titans with your host,